guess you need to be introduced to it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I could introduce myself.
That's all right. Okay. Our special speaker today, we have Virginia Shoemaker. What's your official title now?
I'll get to that.
Okay. We've been trying to figure out what to call her for a couple months now. So, but she actually sits in the desk right next to me in our office and is doing a fantastic job. You're going to be seeing a lot more of her. And she's going to do the song and dance about the locomotive and what it has become. So, Virginia, take the stage.
Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for having me. So when I started this, my title was Network Weaver, and we decided that wasn't quite a good description for what I do. So my current title is Business Alliance Network Associate for Eastern Kentucky Locomotive, and that's a mouthful as well. So. What essentially I'm doing is I'm helping create the business alliance and marketplace for Eastern Kentucky Locomotive. This is a two-component system, so I'm going to touch on the business alliance first and then move on and talk about the marketplace. The overall goal of the business alliance is to retain more local dollars in the local market. Depending on which economists you talk to or want to believe, an estimate is that for every dollar spent in a non-local business, only 14 to 17 cents of that dollar remains in the local economy, as opposed to purchasing something from a local establishment where an estimated 40 to 50 cents remains circulating in the local economy. According to the Growing Local Economies report for Estill County that was produced last year by the University of Kentucky in connection with EDA, if there were a 10% shift in spending concentrated locally, the potential retention of money would equal over an estimated $13 million in this community. And that's just a 10% shift of household spending. Through this business alliance, we are creating a network of independently and locally owned businesses aimed at keeping more of those local dollars circulating at home. This program seeks to embrace the current growing trend of Go Local campaigns and expand upon those ideas. As a group, we need to find ways to actively support local business owners. What we are creating with this program is a network of locally owned businesses that will look to each other for support, for guidance, sharing best practices, and for any other business activity that supports an increase in prosperity throughout the entire community. We will provide opportunities for joint advertising and promotion. The bags that you have were actually what we handed out at the Mushroom Festival, and our steering committee members and any of our members that wanted to put anything in there that they wanted, whether it be swag or literature, business cards, or any other promotional material, that was included in the bag. And as Joe pointed out, I didn't put these on all your bags, and I apologize, but they all looked like this. They had a sticker on the back that said Eastern Kentucky Locomotive. So that was kind of what we handed out for the Mushroom Festival. We had very good response, and a lot of people stopping by wanting to know about the program. In terms of the public, another important goal of our organization is to educate citizens on why shopping local is important. Many people do not understand the value of spending your dollar in your own community, as opposed to going out of town to eat, to shop, or find professional services. We want consumers to know that the more we spend our hard-earned dollars at home, the better chance we have to increase prosperity for our community across the board. To do this, we also need to educate consumers about what businesses are actually local. There's a lot of confusion as to what is really truly a local business and what they have to offer. I have several retail owners who I speak with, and they tell me that consumers don't know, especially the younger generation, they don't know what products they sell, they don't know what services they offer, they have no idea that they even exist. That's the one that always gets me, is people who have lived here for 10, 15 years will say, yeah, I had someone come in the other day, they were in my business, they've been here for 15 years, had no idea I was even here. And that happens a lot more often than we would like to admit. So we want to make sure that we highlight those local businesses in our alliance to make sure that people know that they're here. Another aspect of this is that many smaller communities find they cannot sustain or support any kind of going local program or campaign by themselves. And in this regard, we hope to serve as a conduit to do that for several communities, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Now, one of the things that I do want to say, and I am asked this often, is how is this group different than the chamber? First, we're not a chamber. We are a network of businesses looking to boost patronage at locally owned businesses, focusing on locally owned businesses. We're a service provider. We're a nonprofit service provider. Secondly, we hope to partner with chamber groups in order to get to know the communities we will be working in through the experience of the local business leaders, and have their guidance on how this effort will best serve the business needs of their community. We can't do this without having the information from the community about what they want this to be. By partnering with the chamber, it gives us access to all the existing chamber members, so I can come here and do presentations like this. It also allows members of the chamber to take advantage of this value-added service. The partnership all comes in one set of deeply discounted membership dues for both programs, so you're not going to be paying more with your chamber dues. You'll just be a part of the local motive. Lastly, as you will hear in just a moment, we are starting here in Estill County, but we'll be expanding across county lines to create the same kind of network in other communities, and eventually connect all those networks to create a regional network, which will feed into what we are calling the Appalachian Marketplace. I think we can all agree, living in a rural community, and especially in rural Appalachia, that a Go Local campaign is wonderful, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So what we have started here is creating the network here in Estill County, and so far have 7 business owners who have kind of helped us get things off the ground, and they are all very excited about it. And having said that, the goal here is to expand beyond Estill County and into neighboring counties, so that eventually we will create this regional network. The hope is that whatever supplies, materials, services, or needs that you have that are critical to your business operations, that you cannot fill within your own county lines, that possibly there is a business a county or 2 over who may fill those needs for you, so that you will look to them first before going nationally or even regionally to fill those supply needs or resources, whatever resources it is you need for your business. The majority of the time we want the deal, and most of the time we look outside of our county or region to find the deal for our business, or even in our personal life as a consumer. In the marketplace structure that we're creating, we are hoping that we can connect businesses together and create a working relationship between them, so that they are getting the best deals from each other, or at least able to consider purchasing those supplies locally. So essentially giving people the opportunity to bid competitively with local businesses, as opposed to just automatically going to a Staples or Home Depot or things of that nature. If you have a local supply company that could say, okay, well, you're with the Alliance, so let me see what kind of deal I can work out for you, so I stay competitive with these franchises, essentially. Everybody loves a good deal, but oftentimes those deals are made at the expense of the community. We're losing that 80-ish cents a dollar, it's all going out of our community. So in addition to connecting businesses within Estill County, we want to connect independent, locally owned businesses in the region in order to keep more business within the entire regional economy. I want to mention how we inform the marketplace that we're creating and how we connect those needs to the businesses. We have what is called a leakage analysis, which is being done by the University of Kentucky Appalachian Center, which essentially tells us what our overall sector's profile looks like. What businesses are here, what businesses are missing, where we're missing out on money that could be staying here. In addition to that research, we also look to the business owners who are joining the Alliance to inform us what their greatest needs are. What supplies do you need? What kind of businesses do we need to connect you to in order to help you run more efficiently? This marketplace and Alliance are not aimed at one specific sector. I get that question a lot. They think it's just a retail thing, or for shopping, for restaurants. It's across all sectors. manufacturing, healthcare, everything. We want to work with everyone and essentially try to keep as much money locally as we can. So, in saying that, when I talk to people about this program, they want to know what it can do for them, their business, or as consumers, what it will do for the community, and ultimately what it might cost to join. And this is still, this is still in its infancy, so some of those questions we're still working out with our steering committee. But here's an idea of some of the things that we will be offering. Joint promotion and advertising of local business, which obviously we've done that at the Mushroom Festival. We will do regional branding. This brand right here, eventually will be all over Eastern Kentucky, and it will only be in local businesses and places that support shopping locally. So we'll do that regional branding, building an identity of place and loyalty to local shopping and local businesses. One of the big things we'll be doing is creating a directory that is exclusive to our members and to the chamber members as well, that lists all of the businesses in our alliance, what they do, what they have, what they need, so we can easily link people up to each other. So you could get on the directory and say, okay, well, I need to buy 40 reams of paper or whatever, and you go through and you see, okay, who's a office supply person and how can I work with them? And then you get in touch with me and I essentially connect the two of you and we work out a deal and let them do a competitive bid. Another thing we'll be doing is doing a website, which will include the directory, password protected, but we'll promote all of the businesses in the alliance. Another aspect of this is we'll be providing information that you may not be able to access easily. Information to how to use local media best, how to use online media best, how to interpret data on the local economy, things of that nature. We'll have all that put together for you, and anything you need, you could come to me or whoever is in this position and say, hey, I really need to know how to do this. And we'll get in touch with our cohorts at the university or whoever we're working with at the time, and we'll figure out how to help you get it done. We've actually already started our social media campaign, and we have a Facebook page, so it's on the brochure, so please feel free to go on there and like that. We're working on content for the website, and hopefully by the end of the summer we'll have the website up with information about the project. The last thing I want to mention is that while we are focused on local, we understand that in every community, franchises and outside companies absolutely have their place. We hope that there is recognition that an increase in business locally is good for everyone. Franchise, local business, all across the board, spending more money here is good for everyone. We aren't discouraging people to go to chain stores or restaurants, but to spend more of their money within the county lines. We want all the money to stay here, essentially. While we do not offer the extent of our services to businesses that are not based here and are not locally based businesses, we do encourage them to show their support for the local government, for the local movement and the community, and become part of this group as a supporting member or a sponsor. Our goal is to encourage everyone to consider keeping their money within Estill County and within the region as much as possible. So, with that said, any questions? That was a lot of information. It's probably going to take some time to digest. But I am here right now every Tuesday, Thursday. I actually, as Joe mentioned, share the office with him. So if you ever want to come in and pick my brain, or if you have some ideas about how this can go further in the community, please feel free to drop by and say hello or give me a call.
As far as the directory goes, you'll have it on the website, and then
it'll be on the website. It will be as I said, it will only be available to our members, and you'll only be able to be listed if you're a member. So it'll be password protected.
So I don't know if you're at the point yet to try and figure out how to educate the local community, but what outreach are we kind of looking at? Because really, most everybody, you say people have been here for 15 years and don't know, it's because they automatically think everything's in Richmond, everything's in Lexington.
Right.
And also, one thing that I run into, we're building a house, and everybody's advice is, I was like, oh, I went to Needs and I got to Lowe's, it'll be cheaper.
Well, that's when we get back to that, you know, talking about educating,
Right.
first of all, it has to start extremely young.
Yeah.
People, and like Joe and I have talked about this often, about the need to educate is not just, you know, the adult population. We need to look at middle school and high school and do some programs with them and educate them on the importance of keeping their money where they're living. Because honestly, we have grown up, and you know, it was that way when I was younger, but as I got older, we are, you know, my daughter's growing up in a society where when she thinks hardware, she doesn't think needs, she thinks, you know, I don't even know if there's enough Ace hardware places around here for people to even know what that is. You know, they think Lowe's or Home Depot, or if you're up north, it's Menards. You know, or they think, okay, I wanna go get a burger, if they think Wendy's or McDonald's, they don't think Burger Bar. So it's, as consumers, having the foresight of what is going on, it's up to us as individuals, as well as in our businesses, to educate people about the importance of spending their money ethically.
Well, I told them, I said, this community is our livelihood, so
Yeah.
we invest in it.
Yeah, you're supporting your neighbors, you're supporting your friends,
Right.
you're supporting your family.
So, but it was interesting because we run into that over and over and over again. And we try to spread it out, you know, we don't go to just meetings, we go to True Value, we go, you know, just wherever.
Yeah.
And some things you have to go somewhere else, to do it, but that attitude is prevalent.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's one of those things where people don't take into account the cost of travel. Joe, we actually were talking about this earlier. They don't take into account logistical expense. I was talking about, okay, if you could order a book online for $15, or you could buy it in a shop for $18, which is the better purchase? Well, it depends on shipping prices. But how many people will purchase something online and say, oh, I got such a good deal on this, it was only $15, but I spent $10 on shipping. Well, that's not a deal. But people don't take that into account. So it's educating people on, okay, you have to look at your total cost. It's not just the cost of the product, because when you're purchasing online, you're also taking into account those logistical costs. Which, if you're going to Richmond, you're paying for gas. And you know, yes, you may do 2 or 3 errands over there, but the price is really so much cheaper over there that it's you know, balancing out. Most of the time it's not. You're getting the same products here, yeah, you may pay 25 cents more, 50 cents more. Let's be honest, most of the time the price difference isn't so great that it's worth it. And so it's kind of getting into that mindset of, okay, well, what is here that I can go and buy this here? And I think that's where the directory, and this is actually open to consumers as well.
That's what I was wondering, if the
Yeah.
directory would be.
They can join as a supporter and have access to that information, so that they will actually know who is here and what they sell, what they, you know. And like I said, it's not just about retail, it's not just about restaurants, it's also about professional services. I mean, how many people do their taxes online? You know, as opposed to going to an accountant. I have an aunt that's an accountant, so she usually does mine, but, you know, I know a lot of people that, you know, they prefer to do it that way as opposed to paying somebody $25 to $100 to do their taxes, which is unfortunate. So, you know, it kind of depends on, I guess it kind of depends on what your perceived value of a product is. You know, if I can get this cup here for $1, but I can get this cup in Richmond for 50 cents, well, how many cups do I have to buy? Is it worth it? If I'm just getting 1 cup, of course I'm going to buy it here, it's not worth the gas. So it's a change in mindset about the way we purchase. And that is, any successful Go Local campaign will tell you that's what it's been in their communities. I did my graduate work in Knoxville, and at the time I was there, they really started boosting this Go Local, Buy Local campaign. And what it ended up doing was, there's a whole section of Knoxville that was kind of a down in the dumps kind of place that people didn't want to live. It's booming now. Businesses down Central Avenue, it's a great place. People want to put these cute little, you know, niche bakeries in, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, it's that kind of mindset. People change their mindset about, well, I can either go, you know, to, I don't know, cupcake factory. I don't even know where you would go and get a cupcake that's not at a local bakery. Honestly, like I can go to Walmart and buy a cupcake, Or I can go to Magpie's, and which, by the way, if you're ever in Knoxville, Magpie's Bakery, you'll die. It's fantastic. Love it. I mean, they have their motto is all butter all the time, so totally worth it. Best red velvet cupcake I've ever had in my life. But yeah, I mean, so it's that change in mindset of, okay, what is the value of buying something at a Lowe's, as opposed to what is the value to my community if I buy something at Meats. It's that, and you really have to have that, I don't know, that mindset of buying local isn't just about me, it's about the place I live.
That's another part.
Yeah, well, it's like, I had someone who rattled off a franchise that was here, and I was like, well, yes, it's good because you're buying here as opposed to going to Richmond and purchasing. But that franchise is also exporting the majority of the money. Where the thing that she said that she went to buy specifically, she could have gotten at Silo Mill or, you know, one of those places. So it's that mindset of, okay, what is it worth to me to purchase something from a Silo Mill as opposed to keep coming back to Walmart, but sorry, everyone's a huge fan of Walmart, but yes.
Not to sound too much like a Debbie Downer, but part of what we're working on in the LEAP class this year, you can go and educate your middle schoolers and high schoolers, and that's great because I think they do have that mindset that we need to change. But we have a problem of retention of our youth in this community because there's not a whole lot to offer.
That's why we need the small business incubator to get some entertainment.
Yeah. Joe and I actually, we had a group come in, the Appalachia Funders group, and they asked us the same exact question. And I said, I cannot give you an answer to that question because Joe and I did the same exact thing. I left my small rural community in Tennessee, went out, had my adventures in the world, and had a career, and then went back to grad school, came home to work. There were no jobs. There was nothing for me to do. They couldn't even afford to have me do economic development because they were focusing all their money for economic development on bringing in outside manufacturing instead of creating something. And I was like, I thought to myself, okay, you have all these resources, all this, for lack of a better phrase, human capital. You have all these people who can work. And instead of encouraging them to create their own businesses and stay in the community and really build up the community and create jobs for the community, you're looking outside of this community to give somebody else money. So, where is that change? Who do we have to talk to get that mindset to change? Do we continue to try to bring people in from outside, or do we finally say to these kids, you have the power to do this. You have the know-how, and if you don't have the know-how, there is someone in this community who does. And that's why we should create a mentor program where these kids can say, okay, I want to start this kind of business. Okay, well, someone over here, they know exactly how to do that. So let's go talk to them, see if we can intern with them. You know, understanding that internships are pretty, you know, I worked as an intern, it was painful. But, you know, it was great because I got the best experience doing it. But having these kids learn practical, you know, I love being in school, I do. I love the fact that I have a master's and I have this education. You can sit around and theorize all you want, you know, but then you get out into the real world and it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And that's the problem I think a lot of kids have with education. They don't see how it applies. And my mom, who is in education, she actually works at UK as well. She will tell you that is the biggest problem that they have, is that kids will look at her and say, well, what am I supposed to do with this? She does math and science. And they don't understand how math and science apply in the real world. And so I think it's our job as a community of business owners to say, let me give you that practical knowledge. Let me give you that those practical applications for science. I mean, I'm sure Carhartt, you have chemists somewhere that does something, and you have accountants, and they mix things up and make things explode. But you know, it's having those, you know, law firm. You guys are a perfect conduit for these kids to learn something about the real world. I mean, let's admit, I've got a sister who's a lawyer. I know all about it. Half my family is lawyers, and there's education and businessmen. That's all we are. So it's having that practical application that I think will really take them further. I could get up and lecture to kids all day long about why this is important, but until they actually get out and practice it, and I think that's true for anything, you have to get out there and apply yourself and practice it. And I think everyone would agree that this is a perfect time to have a program like that these kids can latch onto and say, okay, what am I gonna do that's gonna make me feel in this world like I'm worth something and really make my place?
Well, the fact is
make my
too,
mark.
that they're gonna have to, because even if they decide to go out into, wherever, a different state, different part of the country, the economy is so different than, when we graduated from college. You almost have to be, in order to be, successful, you almost have to start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to create your own thing, because there's so little out there. So,
I think it would be good for the incubator or whatever to promote local talent, crafts, instrument builders, people like that. You look at towns like Nashville, Indiana, stuff like that, that's incredible. It's a tourist attraction itself.
Mm-hmm.
Just brings people in because they want to see the people that are local. Like where I grew up in Hazard, Southeastern Kentucky, whatever. Arts, crafts, music, whatever's from that region, what's more than anything.
Yeah, so it's it's finding those talents and seeing what you can make it.
If you could focus on some kind of local talent,
well, I think
whatever started in that region,
yeah.
focus on that.
Yeah, and encouraging people, and I think this is true for kids or adults as it is for kids, especially growing up in rural Appalachia. I grew up in rural Appalachia, and I know this is true. And I've said this a million times. There is a fear of being successful. There is a fear. And I think that's true, I think, across the board. If you didn't grow up in a household where you are constantly encouraged to be fantastic and be the best you can be, then you're going to have that overwhelming fear of failure. And I think at some point we have to say, okay, our community is going to go away if we do not do something and make it stay. And I'm just a poet, and I didn't know what about it. But, kids really have to get in their mindset, and I know Joe and I have talked about, I'm sorry, I'm going way over time, aren't I? Okay. Sorry,
okay,
guys.
You got 5 minutes tops, and
Okay. Well, I will try to wrap it up with this. Making sure kids know, and making sure adults know, that it is okay to do something positive, supportive in your community, and that if you don't succeed, if you start a business and it fails, that's okay. It's okay because you tried.
And what, 90% of businesses fail the first time?
Absolutely. Another thing I said at the funders meeting, I started a business when I moved back from New York to Tennessee, and it absolutely crashed and burned. It was up and down probably in 6 months, if even that. And I was like, okay, I need to learn a little more about how to make this work. Now, I haven't tried it again, but I have about 5 different business ideas in a folder ready to get started at some point in my life. But the point was that I went through all the fun, learning how to start it, learning all the how to get your tax ID and, all that jazz. Marketing it, building it up, branding it, everything. And did that right before I went back to grad school. It kind of coincided with it crashed and burned, and then I started school, and I was like, I don't have time for it anyway. But I think it's letting them know that it's okay to try. And you should try. Because if it's something that you want to do, it's something you believe in, it's something that can help your community, you have to try. So, with that, I'm going to hop down off my pedestal. And thank you all very much for letting me come and talk to you. And like I said, if you have any questions at all, my door is always open, and I would love to talk to all